Welcome this Friday morning in New York City. I hope the sun is shining wherever you are, shining on your life, shining on your future. Got a lot to talk about today. We had a meeting of the National Committee last week before, which kind of discussed a whole lot of different things. One of which was the support. Where is it coming from for ending the war in Ukraine? And that's an important goal. Ending that war is an imperative. But the right wing is supporting it. Why? Why? We're going to be talking about that. Then there's that no labels business. Big, mega bucks behind it. Who is supporting it and what is their goal? Then we're going to have a strike update. The actors went out on strike midnight last night. They joined the screenwriters, labor uprising all across the country. And then lastly, one party club in California in Rosanna State is getting out on their hands and knees and doing some scrubbing. What are they scrubbing and why? We'll be talking about that in just a few minutes. But first, um, let's deal with the issue of, Tuberville, Anita,
Mm.
is opposing this War Defense Appropriations Act, putting all kind of obstacles there. And he's joined a growing chorus of right wingers who very much opposed to, at least on the surface, Biden's support for Ukraine. Are they right or wrong? And if they're right, why are they? And if they're wrong, what's wrong with what they're saying?
Well, they're on the right. They might not be right. They're coming at it from a Warhawk kind of perspective, even though they're not the peace candidates for peace in Ukraine. They would rather have war with China, I think. And they're always a little sympathetic with the white nationalist Vladimir Putin. I Anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ leader, strong man. They love that kind of thing. They're not coming from it to the demand to decrease aid to Ukraine from a peace standpoint. Um, it's it's I think I bristle at this idea of a horseshoe theory that some people put forward that want to equate the left and the right. It's just they're nothing. It's nothing. It's not the same thing. But I do think we should be promoting peace in Ukraine and everywhere, but self determination at the same time.
Horseshoe theory. Does that mean that I can't make a horseshoe? That you have the left and the right here, and then in the middle there's everybody else? Is that the idea, Anita?
That's
With
the
the
idea,
horseshoe?
and that the two extremes, so-called extremes, are coming together and converging on a policy that they have in common. But that's not true. That's not what's going on here. The left there may be differences of opinion among some people on the left in Congress, for example, on a lot of the military appropriations, but it's not the same as what the GOP seem to be taking from their leaders. That is Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, both are just going against Biden's perspective on Ukraine.
But Scott, I mean, Anita says they're not coming together, but didn't they in fact come together in February at that Rage Against the Machine war rally where you had Rand Paul and Ron Paul and these other populists, right and left, came together and don't y'all support the Popular Front? and
So
and wasn't this a broad coalescence of
uh,
seemed to
this
me like you all would be celebrating that, but the National
so
Committee report said no, that this was what's can't have your political cake and eat it too, Scott. I mean, what do you guys want?
are you asking me to comment on this, Joe, or are you just riffing still? Um, So, no, look, I'm going to reiterate what Anita said, first of all. The horseshoe theory is nonsense. The idea that the left and the right converge at the extremes, it comes out of the whole bullshit idea of totalitarianism, which was articulated to pretend that Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union were somehow the same kind of political and social project. So that's nonsense. On this right wing support for or right wing, I should say, right wing opposition to aid to Ukraine, we have to say there's a difference between isolationism and internationalism. There's a difference between pushing actively for peace and, you know, just retrenching in that Trumpian style. And what's going on here is largely opportunism, right? So we could compare it to the way that the fascist elements of the right talk about class, right? There's this very superficial kind of pandering to a very narrow vision of the working class. All right, and I think we see this a similar thing going on here. Objectively, conditions are getting tougher. Economically, for people, there's I think a growing opposition to, or at least fatigue with, endless military adventuring, imperialism, and the sheer amount of resources that get poured into that. And these fascists are trying to kind of co-opt that, right, and turn it into their thing, position themselves as the candidates of peace and the candidates of working people when they're not at all. They're not. That's not what they are. Uh, we are, we need an internationalist, pro-peace, anti-war position based on, ceasefire and withdrawal. And this is the right-wing crazies are not going to lead us there.
Rosanna, maybe I should have kept riffing because Scott just completely avoided my question, which was we had a specific example of these right wingers and so called left wingers coming together in January, February rather, at in DC at a anti-war so-called rally. What's wrong with that?
Motivation is the difference. They're they're not motivated for meeting people's needs or the interest of the people. They're motivated by the interest of themselves and the interest of what's going to line their pockets. So I think it's a big difference um, in that sense, and it's a little leery. We have to be very cautious of that. Although I agree with Anita, we do need peace and we do need uh, to fight for that. But we cannot be fooled by the fact that who they represent, and that their motives are not based on the interest of peace and the working class. It's based on, you know, their other motives. So we have to be very watchful of, what are they up to?
Motivation is key, and we have to make a distinction between fake populism and real, consistent working class interest. As Scott likes to say, there's a difference between isolationism and internationalism. You're right about that, Scott. And one, there's a growing protectionism on the far right. Trump exemplified that. America first. Well, has America ever been first for the working class, Anita? It's been first for big capital. Um, and we have to put working class interests first and foremost. And one of the big dangers of that fiasco in D.C. in February is that so-called left-wing people end up carrying water for the extreme right and justifying this kind of. Is that a united front, Anita?
It certainly isn't a united front, Joe, of course. And in fact, the last time we had a real working class forward uh, organization of government in North America was, I guess, 1491 or so. So it's been a while. This country was really founded by a ruling class that was the plantocracy and then became the bourgeoisie. And it's never had a working class forward uh, orientation to its government. So I
What
think
happened in
we just have to keep
1491?
well, what happened in 1492 is what happened when they discovered there was a discovery made of white men on the beach, and that sort of changed governments for North America from then on. But the hunting and gathering people that were here before, and the agriculturalists too, that you might say the working class was in charge before that happened.
On the beach, huh? Getting,
White men on the
getting the
beach. That was the
suntan.
discovery of 1492.
Change the course of history.
And Joe,
Right.
the other thing about this rally and the trend you identified of some so-called leftists being drawn into these alliances with really just foul political actors like Tucker Carlson and you know others of that stripe, right? Um, it's it's a way of sowing disarray in the left. It's a way of um, clouding the issues, disorganizing, demobilizing, and getting people out of the main sort of framework of political struggle right now, which remains the fight against fascism. Yes, the foreign policy of the Biden administration is ridiculous. It's horrible. It's anti-worker. It's anti-people. It's imperialist. But letting a right winger, letting a fascist be elected is not going to advance us one step toward anything better, here or abroad.
It's a united front of infamy. That's what kind of united front. And if the working class and forces are not present, can it really be a popular front? Or it's a front of populists, but not a popular front. And you cannot support any such imperative. And as for the Biden administration being anti-worker, well, they do have the most pro labor relations board, Scott. I mean,
I said their foreign policy was
oh, foreign
anti-worker and
policy.
anti-people.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you.
Don't put oversimplifications in my mouth, my friend.
Well, I tried, but I wasn't able to this time. Can't fault me for trying. Let's move the agenda. These issues are important because there's an election next year and there's a new force that has emerged. They're trying to get on the ballot in the 50 states. They're calling not left, not right. We're practical, pragmatic politicians. And the issue is what works. They call themselves no labels. And the people like Joe Lieberman, the Democrat, centrist, right, center right, former senator from uh, Connecticut, is a part of it. The former governor of Maryland, Republican, part of it. The former Republican governor of North Carolina is part of it, and so on and so forth. Uh, Reverend Ben Chavis is part of it. Ben, remember back in the day, was the executive director. He was a political prisoner, and the National Alliance, Angela, Charlene, and them got him out of jail. Remember, yeah, Ben Chavis and the Wilmington 10? Does that ring a bell to anybody?
Yeah.
And then he got elected the executive director of the NAACP, and he had an affair or sexual harassment. He tried to took a whole lot of the NAACP's money, the hush money, paid the woman off. They found out he got fired. Next thing you know, he's leading the Million Man March. Changed his name to Benjamin Mohammed. And I guess Farrakhan got tired of him and started working for Russell Simmons, the recording studio executive. I guess Russell got tired of him. Now he's joined forces with No Labels and these right wingers. Talk about a political chameleon. Anyway, so and they feel that there's an opportunity for Anita.
Mhm.
Um, I mean Rosanna, director said you. Sorry, Anita.
No
Uh,
problem.
to uh, impact the election. But Rosanna, do you think that impact is going to be a positive one, or one that we should be careful about?
I think it's definitely something that we really have to be mindful, and I don't think it's going to be a positive result. I think we have to, this is the right wing playing on some sentiments of the people. They have these big think tanks that are set up to look at what's going on, what are the trends. Uh, they know that a lot of people, especially young voters, are attracted to the the no labels, the independent types of elections or independence and things like that. So they're playing on that. They're playing on even wording that is used in the Poor People's Campaign, where it says it's not about the right or the left, it's about the moral uh, uh, importance of this country and ending poverty and all of these. So there's like these little terms that they're using, and the purple hats. What's with the purple hats? Purple is used to as the color for women. Instead of pink, and it's because I think it's a combination of blue and pink, blue and pink kind of a thing. So there's a lot of these little indications that they have been thinking this through, trying to figure out how to sabotage the next election, how to confuse the people. Once again, it's this battle of ideas that we have to be very, very sharp and look at everything under the hood to make sure that we're not going to fall prey to some of their tactics and some of their games and end up voting against our own best interests. So I urge everybody to please take a look at that. It's a very serious thing in my mind.
But aren't we for, Anita, independent politics? Isn't this an example of fight for political independence? I mean, they're not Democrats, and they say they're not Republicans. They just want to practically solve problems. What possibly could go wrong?
They're not. They're don't believe what they say, Joe. I would say someone described them as a Republican front group, and they're if they do enter the presidential race, the polling shows that they could just usher in a Trump presidency, which, by the way, shouldn't happen at all. I know there are some nonprofit groups that are suing based on some amendment in the Constitution that if you have an insurrection, you're not allowed to run again. I'm sure that's not gonna fly, but it really does seem outrageous to me still that he could try to steal the election and then have a chance at it again. It's just ridiculous. But it does seem that that this organization has been put together with only one possible outcome, and therefore that must be their intended strategy, and that is to defeat Joe Biden in 2024 and to usher in a Trump presidency again.
But Scott, where do they stand on the issues, and where is the money coming from? I mean, we keep saying we don't endorse Democrats, we don't endorse Republicans. We support candidates. We don't support other political parties. It ain't us. We support issues, and what is behind the issues. If you look at the no labels people, they want to be practical on the issues, and they're independent. So again, what's wrong with that?
Well, let's take Joe Manchin as kind of the exemplar for the moment. We could do Lieberman as well, but this is somebody who spent the entire Biden administration trying to block and minimize uh, the most pro-worker and pro-people parts of the legislation that the Biden administration was pushing, trying to make sure the minimum wage wasn't raised, trying to hamstring the environmental protections, trying to make sure nothing went too far. Um, it was a deeply opportunistic thing, and it was funded by um, finance capital, by Manchin's banker friends, and by his own personal fortune as well, I assume. This is not a group that is independent in any way. This is, um, the way I picture it is like, so when you melt butter, right? The fat separates, and you get that white kind of scummy stuff on the top, the milk proteins. No labels is like if somebody scooped all that stuff off the top and said, "Oh, what we really need is just a whole bunch of this," right? It's not the 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 force of the Democratic Party comes from a big, coalition of people, of workers, of racially and nationally oppressed people, of women. They're the boots on the ground. That's the driving force. And then, this no labels group represents that ridiculous bit at the top that fetishizes so-called moderation, which is really just um, shooting progress in the foot. Um, I think it's reprehensible, and if it manages to turn the election over to Trump, disastrous.
You got to follow the money, and that they're very reticent. They don't want to talk about where the money comes from. You ask them, where is the money coming from? They clam up. The New Republic writes that one of the leading donors for no labels uh, is connected to uh, Clarence Thomas, a billionaire, connected to Clarence Thomas. What's his name? Oh, I don't see it. Anyway, that's what they say. And then the other thing that I heard is that another supporter, big advocate of no labels, is Jared Kushner.
Mm.
Jared Kushner, Trump's daughter's, what's her name? Husband. And so those are at least two of them that are backing this kind of follow the money, and it tells a lot. And Scott, I'm sorry, Joe Manchin is on his way to New Hampshire to participate in some big. They're going to do a book party or something for no labels, and there's a lot of speculation that the boy might run for president. So get ready. It's getting complicated out there, and there's a lot at stake. And I think that their goal is to peel off a section of the independent vote. Most independents are former Republicans anyway, not all of them. I'm an independent. I never registered with any other political party except the Communist Party. But in New York, I can be independent. I can vote Working Families Party. So that gives me a little bit of an out. I am so happy about that. So anyway, be careful. We have to put a label on no labels.
Mhm.
Republicans light, well, really not so light. Beware of the stalking horse. They want to ride that horse all the way to the White House. Watch. They say they want to have a Republican presidential candidate and a Democratic vice president. Now they want to put a Communist Party member on the ticket. Rosanna, you want to run? No.
And a lot of
Okay.
these people, I think, are just far right Republicans who, think the Trump brand is too damaged, right? Or
Yeah.
too, they disagree with his vulgarity or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no, for many of them, no substantial political difference
No.
in them at
Right.
all.
No. Hollywood actors went out on strike yesterday, midnight. Rosanna, they're on the
Join the
picket
picket
line
lines.
down the street from you. Are you going to
That's
the
right.
picket?
Today at 9
All
Today at
right.
9 o'clock.
to 9 o'clock.
Find your
Have a
favorite movie star. Please take a photo. Send
Mhm.
it in. This growing
Yes.
labor unrest, Anita, is very important. It's going to have a big impact on the upcoming election, don't you think?
Yes, I do. And, when I was, before I really got to know politics, I remember early on a baseball strike, and I was thinking, why are these people, in a union? They make so much money. But of course, the vast majority of people in SAG after don't make the huge big bucks that a minority of actors do. And it's interesting, we see in this strike some trend that we've seen in the UPS strike and auto workers, and that is a feeling that this two-tier or multi-tier kind of approach to employment is just an anathema. So they're against that, just like the UPS and the UAW is against two-tier, they're against that multi-tier. And I remember some famous actor who probably makes a lot of money just being quoted as saying this strike is about making sure the people on the margins are able to have a life. They're able to make a living at the profession that they have chosen. And it was really, I thought Fran Drescher's speech was very good and really approaches that question of just the meanness on the part of the studios, that they would treat their workers so badly in this labor action so far.
Scott, this is class struggle.
100%. Absolutely.
At the point of
And
production, that's where the class struggle starts, right?
yeah, and it's class struggle as always with important implications for democracy, because when you stand up at the point of production and insist on democracy in the workplace, on the right of workers to organize themselves and bargain collectively, um, it gives you both training and kind of the grounding to push for democracy on the national political scale as well. And we know that in 2016, um, organized labor was very important in both getting out the vote and in protecting the vote, and in showing that attempts to interfere with the election would not be tolerated. And I think with the growth in militancy and organization of the labor movement since then, we're going to see something even more powerful in 2024.
I certainly hope so. It's certainly what the country needs. Now, I want to make an announcement. On Sunday the 26th, we know that there's a big, potentially big strike at UPS on the part of the Teamsters.
Mhm.
Company, as we reported last week, the company walked out of the negotiations 4 o'clock in the morning, and which has raised the potential for a strike dramatically. We hope that they settle. The strike will not help the workers,
Mhm.
in the short term. Uh, but if they don't, we have to be we have to, and everybody, the community at large, has to have their back. And on the 26th, People's World, Sunday at 8 o'clock, is sponsoring a town hall forum with UPS workers to discuss how can we support this strike? How can we build labor community unity? I'm
Mhm.
sorry, it's on the 23rd, not the 26th. 23rd Sunday, 8 p.m. Thank you, producer. Eastern Daylight Time. We are in daylight time, aren't we? Right? I don't know why they mess up the time like that, but they do. Be there. Think about how to support, but you don't have to wait until the 23rd to make support because the Teamsters are asking their friends in the broader movement to write your congressman, write your senator, write the Biden administration, and tell them, don't you dare intervene in this strike. Don't be up there trying no Taft Hartley, saying, no,
Mhm.
you can't, like they did in the fall. No, it's really important, and it's important to do it now. So get
Mhm.
out your email, get out your phone, your iPhone, your Android, get on your laptop, whatever brand it is, send a letter, call them up, do it today. Don't wait. It's important. Now, next, the Communist Party is a revolutionary party of the U.S. working class in any other country that they're in, and we're trying to clean society up, put the working class in charge. But we got a club in Sacramento took that literally, and they're cleaning the streets. Rosanna, in your state, they adopted a highway, and there's the sign. I ain't making this up. Adopt. This is not no Photoshop sign. It's a real sign. Communist
It's pretty
Party,
cool.
pretty cool, right? But where's the plus? In
The that is the plus, actually.
ah,
It's pointing out that, as the Communist Party, where we really are to making this a better society. And what's best, at this moment in time is to clean up those highways, you know, and really show people being out there, being visible, um, and 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 showing all that we are, and showing that we're not these aliens or of any kind. We're working class people that care about our environment, care about pollution, care about our highways, and we're here. Take notice.
that's a good slogan. We are not aliens. We're not aliens. Not no brothers and sisters from another planet. By the way, I read
Mhm.
this morning that there's this bipartisan bill that's going to come up that will call on the administration to release all the UFO files. I think that's a good. Why not release them? We want to know about close encounters. Anita,
Hmm.
you want to recommend to your club in Columbus that we adopt a highway?
Actually, we have thought about helping out with street cleanup in the neighborhood we're concentrating in, and I think it is a good way of making good community relations. We found we had to partner with a group that was really prepared, because you have to be prepared with a lot of equipment to to go about cleaning the highway like that. But read the article, and it actually, they said they're actually doing the work. Some of those people who adopt a highway, they just hire somebody to do the work. But these communists are out there, and they're doing the work, and they're showing the community that they're committed. And we don't see, the Democratic Party. We don't see their name on any highway signs. So I think it's a good idea for them.
Scott, they took a sign down honoring Elizabeth Gurley Flynn in New Hampshire, and they put one up, party cleaning, adopting the highway, and on the far west coast, all the way across the country. Um, is the goal here to move from cleaning the streets to clearing out the corporate suites, or what?
Well, yeah. I mean, um, part of our fight for working class power and the advancement of working class interests is the fight of our party for um, like our right to be a part of the political and social life of this country, right? Our right to be public, not to be silenced and shuffled off into a corner and everything, treated like aliens, as Rosanna said. And so this is important. They took down the Elizabeth Gurley Flynn sign. We got our name up on another sign. And anything that helps combat anti-communism and show people that, yeah, we're out there doing the work, I think is wonderful.
We're out there doing the work, y'all. The Communist Party is a lean, clean fighting machine. That's what, and hey, if it gains you a little bit of respect, if it gains you. They say that people are waving at them, blowing the horn. I support you. Go Reds. They ain't talking about the Cincinnati. They're talking about the Communist Party. That Cincinnati Red. That's not a good term, by the way. It's a takeoff on a Native American. We don't. But we are looking to improve, fight for the lives of the community and the working class, and first and foremost. And so if that helps it, why not? Thank you very much for listening, participating. We'll see you on the 23rd. We'll be back next week, next Friday, same time, same station, with a new edition of Good Morning Revolution. Until then, stay strong, stay safe, and stay in the fight. Take care, everybody.
Later, comrades.